Okay, in this video we're going to do practice 8a, which is creating some floors. So task 1 is adding a basement floor into the hotel. We're going to open up our new file and then we're going to go to our basement view. And then we're going to clean up this view by changing the crop region to just show the main building. So let's stretch it down, crop region down, let's have a look at it. And we want to hide the grids, the elevations and the sections. So what we can do is, let's make a crossing window and select one each of those elements. Let's right click, and instead of going hide in view, which is a permanent hide, what we're going to do is come down to the sunglasses, and on the sunglasses we're going to temporarily hide those categories. It tells us here that we've temporarily hidden them. Once that's completed, we want to make sure that we've got the view there. Now what we want to do is we want to make a floor. So we go to the architecture tab, we say give me a floor, and look at that, we want concrete 300. And now on the contextual tab, we want to draw this floor by picking walls. Now, we then want to hover over the inside face of the walls and then pick, and there should be a little pink line that pops up, and that will end up being the edge of the floor face. Now this little bit here, we might need to trim some of this up. Okay, so we just use the trim command to trim that boundary. So theoretically, that will be the extent of the floor. And then we then say we want to then finish. And then when the alert box pops up, we want to click yes. And then there's the floor that we've just made. We want to click somewhere else to release the floor selection. And then what we want to do is we want to make another floor. So we do the same thing, we want a floor from the properties palette or the type selector. We then want to choose our tile floor. Okay, or we could even choose carpet. And then we can then select how high we want. So let's make it 6 millimeters high. And then we want to only add the carpet to, let's say, the outside of the stairs. Then we want to go under this stairwell. And then again, we want to use the trim tool to then trim up these items. Until we have the boundary selected as what we want. And then we can then click finish. And if there's an error and they're not quite meeting, Revit will tell you where they're not meeting. And then there's the carpet. And just for the sake of it, I might change that to our timber floor so you can see the difference. Okay, so for task number 2, we're going to modify a floor as a platform for the building. So we want to open up the first floor with a pool view. and we then want to change the visual style to shaded. We want to select the existing floor around the edge of the pool, and then we want to then click on edit the boundary, and we want to then add boundary around the very bottom of it. And then what we can do is we can then split this line in two. We can then trim up this boundary, and thereby giving us a complete outline. Then want to click finish, and then with this prompt we then want to go no, we don't want to collect it. Now in this one here we want to join some walls up, so we want to select the underlay to basement, and then we want to select some of the walls, and then we want to attach those walls, and then we want to attach it to the floor that we just made. Click away, and then just to make sure, let's have a look at our pretty cool 3D building. Here's the floor there. Okay, so we're carrying on with task number 3. We're going to add the second floor with balconies to this project. So we're going to open up the floor plan second floor view. There it is there. And then what we want to do is we want to reveal everything that's been hidden. So we're going to hit the little, pick the little light bulb, and then we're going to select a little bit of the import, which is easy to select the bit of text. We're going to right click on the bit of text on the import, and we're going to unhide that. And then we're going to hit the little light bulb again, and the old CAD plan should then pop up. Now some of these things are a bit confusing here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select some grids, some sections, and then let's just temporarily hide those categories so we can see around the outside of the building. We're now going to make a floor up. So let's make our floor. And what we're going to then do, choose boundary line, and then we'll choose pick walls. And the offset we're going to set it to 0. We're going to tick extend into wall core, and then we're going to trace around the outside of the building. So let's first zoom in here, and we can't see any of the walls itself. So let's change this to medium, and then we can see what we're doing. So we want to pick the wall, go right the way around the outside of the building, and we're going to come down here. And then we're then going to use the pick tool to pick some lines in the CAD plan. We might have to trim some of these up. I'll choose this little bit here. And I might make a little line between that. And what that should give us is a outline of our building, of our floor like that. And before we finish it, what we're going to do is do the balconies as well. So we're going to use the pick tool to then pick the CAD plan below the balcony, like so. And then what we're going to do is we're then going to have to trim all these lines up to what we want. Okay, so to help us do that, what we're going to do is we're going to use the split tool. I'm going to split the line at every balcony. And then we're going to use the trim tool to trim up these balconies back to the main slab. Okay, then when we look at it, we've then got an outline of our balconies around the outside of our building, and we've got the floor on the inside. Once we've done that, we then click Finish. We're going to make sure first that we've got the right floor. Don't worry about that, so we're going to go Finish. Oh, no, there's a problem here. So there's something, let's go Finish. Okay, so there's something in the bottom here. No, it's not joined there, so let's trim this up. Let's click Finish. And when it says do you want to join, we want to click Yes. And unfortunately it's got carpet on there. Once we've finished it, we then want to select it and then change it to our concrete, our generic 300. And then we then want to pick somewhere else. Now, since we're finished with CAD import, we then can select it, and then we can then hide it. Once we've done that, we can then reset our temporary, hide isolate, and see our floor plan back to what we've got. Okay, in task number 4, we're going to copy this floor that we've just made, and we're going to copy it to all the other floors. So what we can do is we can select that floor. We can then, once we've selected it, we can then copy it to clipboard. We can then choose to paste it to selected levels. And we want to paste it from the 3rd to the 8th. We can then click OK. And then, just so we can make sure that we've done it right, let's open our 3D view. And there's the floor that we made up. Done like that. Now let's go to our second floor view again. Second floor plan view, and what we're going to do is we're going to select all the interior walls of this piece here, and also these external doors. So let's do a crossing window. Let's do a crossing window, and then let's do a crossing window here. So I've selected a whole lot of things that I might not want, so let's just go filter, and I don't want my door tags, I don't want the grids, and I don't want the structural columns, and I don't want the views, so just the doors and the walls. Again, we're going to copy those to clipboard, and I go, oh, I missed that wall there, so I can use Control to add it to the selection set. We can copy it to clipboard, and we can do the same thing with the floors. We can paste from the 3rd till the 8th. And let's go OK. Let's go think about it. Now once it's been done, let's just check that it's been done right. Let's go and open up the 7th floor. Look at that. All the doors and windows are there, and the doors and the balcony doors. And we'll go to our 3D view just to make sure that it looks right. We go, yep, look at that. All the doors now copied up. All the walls are now there. Now, just to make sure that we're actually looking at this right, let's go hidden line. And what we can see in some instances, the balcony and the walls haven't got a line separating them. They're just kind of not meeting right. So what we want to do is we want to join them up. So we can click on the Modify tab. We can click on Join, the Join command, and we want to tick multiple. And what we want to do is first select the wall. So let's select the wall, which will go blue. And then now, because we've got multiple selected, we can then join all the balconies. So we can join that balcony to the wall, that balcony to the wall, that balcony to the wall, that balcony to the wall. And every time we join it, it's going to do the cutout just as we need it. Once we're finished with it, we can then pick our square. We'll hit escape a couple of times. And you can now see that there is a nice defined line between the wall and the balcony. Okay, so we're carrying on with task number 5. We're going to create a shaft opener. So we're going to go to the first floor view. We're going to come over here, we're going to zoom over to this little lift shaft here. And what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the Architecture tab, and on the Openings panel here there is one little command called the Shaft Opening tool. So we're going to click on that tool, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw the boundary line. And let's use the Pick Wall tool to start off with. And let's pick some walls. Okay, and then we need to trim up some of the stuff, so let's use a little rectangle tool to do some more stuff along here. Okay, then we're going to use the trim tool to trim all these up. Okay, so that is the boundary of the lift hole. In essence, is that one there. We're now going to draw the symbolic line, and we're then going to show a little cross. And then before we go finish, we're going to change the height of this. So the first I'm going to set is the base, first floor, and we want it to go down 300. And then the top constraint, let's make it go up to the roof. And then we're going to click finish. And just to make sure that it's been cutting holes in it, let's go to another floor plan. And there it is there that we just made. Now, let's see what we've done here. We've got consistent colours. Let's go to the second floor plan. Let's go consistent colours. And you can see by the different colouring that there's actually a hole in here, and then there's actually a floor around the outside. I'm going to go back to the first floor view, and then a quick access toolbar. I'm going to go close hidden windows. Okay, so we're going to continue on with task number 6, which is slope floors for drainage. So we're going to open the floor plan called First Floor Restroom View. then just grab this and stretch the crop down so we see a bit of the janitor's office. And let's select some of these, and then we're going to hide all those categories. And we're going to somehow select the floor. Now this view here, we might not be able to select it. One way of selecting it is to hold your mouse over a wall and hit tab. And if you ever look down the very bottom here as we're doing it, we can then select the floor. It turns a little bit blue. And we then want to then click some of the stuff to do with the shape editing. We want to click add a split line, and we want to draw the lines as outlined in the book. Okay, I might tick chain. So I might come from here to here. Added all those split lines, and then in the same shape editing place we want to add a point. Before we do anything, we want to add an elevation to the point, so it's going to be 15 millimeters into the floor, and we want to put a point in approximately the center of each of the rooms. Okay, and then to finish the command we can either pick modify, and then theoretically what we've got is now a floor with a little diamond slope to the middle.